Hey everybody, it's Megan Crockart of Balancing Nutrition. I did an article last year about the difference between food allergy and food intolerance, and I thought I'd put it in a video format. Some people might not have had a read of it. You can go have a read of it on my website, balancingnutrition.com.au. But if you just want to listen, sit back, have a cup of tea, and I'll go through it for you. So, I've worked with food allergies and food intolerances for 10 years now with other people, but I've worked even longer with my own. This is a topic that I get asked a lot about, particularly the differences between what a food intolerance or sensitivity is versus what a food allergy is. So I'll go through that. I'll also go through what symptoms would indicate the need for testing, the different ways to test, the approximate current costs involved, and what do you do if your test results show that you do have a food intolerance or food allergy. So, what is a food intolerance or sensitivity? IgG is a major antibody found in blood serum. IgG-mediated reactions to food antigens may be delayed by several hours or days. It can be up to 28 days after you ate something before you react to it. Whereas IgE food antibody reactions, this is deemed a true allergy, are immediate, usually within about 20 minutes of having eaten that food, 20 minutes to 1 hour. IgG food sensitivity intolerance is triggered by the binding of complement to IgG food antigen complexes, which then cause an inflammatory response. This is a delayed hypersensitivity reaction. IgG food antibodies remain in the blood for longer than IgE antibodies. IgA antibodies are one of the most crucial antibodies as they are the body's first line of defense against viruses and bacteria. IgA antibodies may be raised against specific foods when the lining of the gastrointestinal tract or the mucous membrane become inflamed or damaged. Elevated IgA to specific foods can be an indicator of damage to the mucous membranes in the gut. These IgA sensitivities can lead to IgG sensitivities, which in turn causes more obvious symptoms. People with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, or those with suspected leaky gut, may benefit from testing IgA food reactions. So now, what is a food allergy? IgE food allergy is the true allergy, as it is a pathological reaction of the immune system triggered by eating a food protein antigen. Food allergy is distinct from food intolerances as it arises from an immune system dysregulation, whereas intolerance arises from an inflammatory response. IgE food allergy causes the release of histamine, producing an immediate hypersensitivity reaction, usually immediately after eating the offending foods. Like I said before, about 20 minutes to 1 hour after you eat. Some of the common foods that people have an IgE-mediated reaction to in Australia are nuts, milk, eggs, and seafood. That's just some of the most common ones. So what symptoms or signs can indicate you have a food intolerance? The most common symptoms that can indicate a food intolerance, and you only need one, you don't need this whole list, but they can include headaches or migraines, nausea, seizures, hyperactivity, fatigue, bloating, mood changes, and dark circles under the eyes. Actual conditions that can indicate food intolerances include, but they're not limited to, irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, which can include SIBO, eczema, asthma, autism, ADHD, cystic fibrosis, rheumatoid arthritis, gallstones, and epilepsy. What symptoms or conditions can indicate you have a food allergy? Eating very small amounts of allergenic foods can trigger symptoms such as gastrointestinal disorders, for example, mouth tingling, mouth and face itching and or swelling, as well as nausea, abdominal pain and or vomiting and diarrhea. Urticaria, which is hives, itchy welts on your body, skin flushing, skin itching and facial swelling. Wheezing and or airway inflammation, which can range in severity from mild to life-threatening. Anaphylaxis is the life-threatening airway inflammation. Asthma, Headaches and migraines, eczema, fatigue and IBS also cross over between food intolerance and food allergy. What can cause these sensitivities or allergies? There are many possible reasons you can become sensitive to foods, and the contributing factors include unbalanced or inadequate diets, enzyme deficiencies, stress is a big one, genetic predisposition, infections and inflammation, chemicals, drugs, environmental pollutants, and toxins. Research has shown that these factors may weaken both digestion and the protective defences in our intestinal tract, which can allow for allergens to easily oppose an exhausted immune system. Studies also show that vitamin D deficiency can play a role in food allergy development. So, how do you test for food allergy or intolerance? Blood testing is the most reliable method of testing. With IgE and IgA testing, you can do that test at home with a finger prick, filling in a card with blood. It's called a blood spot. For IgE testing, it does have to be done via a blood draw at a pathology lab. Or if you aren't feeling up to doing the task of doing a blood spot at home, you can opt for a blood draw for your IgG-IgA test. So you can test IgG, IgA and IgE all at the same time, or just do whichever one is most applicable, which I often go through these options with people when I see them in my clinic. If your child is under 2 years of age and you want to find out if they have a food intolerance or allergy, I usually test the mum, which gives a good indicator of the foods that the child is reacting to. If the child is older than 2, you have the same option as the above of what I mentioned to do a blood spot or a blood draw. But with children, it's often easier to use the heel for their blood spot instead of a finger prick if you're doing it at home. How much does it cost? Well, when I wrote my article last year, the prices have actually changed. I had a quick look to see if the prices were the same, and believe it or not, they've actually gotten cheaper, not more expensive. So the cost really depends on the test option that you can choose from, and the test option depends on your symptoms and how varied your diet is. Food intolerance tests, you can test anywhere from just 22 foods up to 208 different foods. Food allergy tests for lesser amounts and usually just the most common ones, and actually is a more expensive process because it is via a blood draw. So the current pricing ranges from the cheapest one being $191 and the most expensive being $976. So that $976 one is the most extensive test that you can do, which is testing 208 IgG plus 208 IgA foods and 27 IgE allergy foods. It is very rare that I do this test for people. It's only really if they want to do it. So that's not usually the amount that you need to put aside. The average cost is about $270. So what do you need to do if you do test that you are intolerant or allergic to any foods? So the first thing is take out that offending food from the diet. The amount of time depends on how intolerant you are and whether it's an actual food intolerance or a food allergy. Food intolerances can require the food to be removed anywhere from a 3 to a 12-month period. Some people find they need a longer time frame away from that food, but usually the food can come back into the diet on a rotational basis. That is, only eating that food every 2 to 3 days, not having it every single day. Gut healing work and reducing inflammation is a large part of reducing that intolerance, not just eliminating the food. Childhood food allergies can be outgrown as the child gets older and their immune system gets stronger. In particular, allergies to cow's milk, egg, wheat and soy. So I was looking at some statistics that I didn't write about in my article, but there's a high rate of resolution in childhood. So all of these, 50% resolution between the ages of basically 5 to 10. So milk, egg, wheat and soy is a really high chance of those resolving on their own. whereas peanuts, tree nuts, seeds, fish and shellfish have lower rates of resolution, so they can last a lot longer or they can last into adulthood. But having said that, more adults are developing allergies, whereas allergies were originally thought of only being in children. So what do we do with food allergies? They can be dealt with in a similar way to food intolerances, but there is more focus on improving that immune system, and it's a longer time frame of having that particular food out of the diet, because some allergies can be for life. Often, depending on what the reaction has been with the allergy, it can be worth retesting those foods with your doctor, making sure that there is no anaphylactic reaction going to happen. So studies have shown that simply taking the offending foods out of the diet does alleviate symptoms associated with non-celiac gluten sensitivity and food sensitivity-induced atopic conditions, such as eczema. It reduces the frequency of migraine headaches, decreases the occurrence of diarrhea, decreased failure to thrive among children with cystic fibrosis, reduced symptoms of IBS, decreased stool frequency in Crohn's disease, prevents seizures and hyperkinetic behaviour in children with epilepsy, and improve kidney function in glomerulonephritis. Food elimination diets also have shown promise for the improvement of behaviours linked with ADHD. So if you would like to find out more about testing and what testing may be appropriate for you or your child, you can contact me to book in an appointment time. You can go to my website, balancingnutrition.com.au. On there you'll see my contact details. You can shoot me a message or call me, whatever method you want. So I look forward to hearing from you if you want to find out a bit more. Thank you so much for watching.